welcome. My name is Jana Weiss. I'm the Student Life Coordinator for Global Online College. And thank you for coming today for Eagle Chats. And we're going to be talking about counseling and ADA services. We are privileged to have the director, Dr. Kalani, speak with us today. She will be talking all about the services that the counseling and ADA services offers. Welcome, Dr. Kalani.
Oh, thank you so very much, Jana, for having me. It's always such a big pleasure. I mean, to be able to meet with the students and talk to the students. So thank you for joining us. I really appreciate the opportunity. So as Jana said, I am the Director of Counseling and Ability Services. So I thought it's a good idea to talk to you guys about the counseling services, what kind of services we provide, what's the difference between counselors and advisors, and just kind of raise awareness about who we are and what we do. So you'll be able to sort of seek the services if you think you will need there to meet with a counselor. So if you see, Jana put a link in the chat box, and that is the link to our counseling services. So before we actually look at that page, I want to share a little information first. I think it's a good idea to start out with who are the counselors and what do the counselors do. So HCC has 24 counselors. Located at pretty much all of the large campuses. Some of the smaller campuses may not have a counselor, but they are connected to a counseling office at their home campus. So, for instance, when we think of Central Campus, Central has the Central Campus, and then it has a South Campus. We don't have a counselor at the South, but they're covered under the Central Campus. So we have our campuses are all counselors are working all full time, so they're available during the day. And we ask the students to make an appointment to see a counselor. What counselors do, and I wonder if anybody here would feel comfortable to you can just say yes or no, or you can raise your hand if you ever seen a counselor at HCC, if you ever worked with a counselor at HCC. You can put in the chat box, you can say yes or no in the chat box if you've ever worked with a counselor. Okay, so I take it as you guys have never worked with a counselor, but I think this is a good opportunity to talk about what do counselors do. So our counselors are mental health professionals, meaning that they all have at least a master's degree in counseling, and then they went and got their licenses in mental health. So counselors are all licensed. A big chunk of what we do is personal counseling. And by personal counseling, I mean, sometimes the students may have, okay, very good, thank you. Some of you see that you're answering that you've never met with a counselor or worked with any of our counselors. So this is an opportunity to learn about the services that we provide. So counselors, as I said, a big chunk of what we do is personal counseling. And that is, if a student is kind of dealing with some personal issues that they do want to talk to someone. Like it could be a person experiencing depression or anxiety, or they have some issues in terms of their relationships with their loved ones, with their family members. Or they feel like they don't have the motivation that they need to take their classes. So that's a good opportunity to see a counselor, to just have a neutral person, a professional who can listen to you and offer feedback to you. So personal counseling is a big chunk of what we do. Jana also mentioned ADA. So some of you may know what ADA is and some of you may not. ADA basically stands for American with Disability Act. And what it is that we provide ADA accommodations, classroom accommodations to students who may have a disability. I know that when we mention disability, most of the time people think it's somebody who has a visible sort of disability. They may be blind or deaf or a wheelchair user. While those are disabilities, but not all the disabilities are visible. And when it comes to higher ed and college, a lot of conditions are considered a disability that allows a student to get additional assistance from the office. Very good. I see that some of you have worked with a counselor. For instance, a student may have ADHD or have a diagnosis for diabetes or heart condition, or have a diagnosis of depression or a learning disability. So for instance, if you were somebody in high school who had 504 accommodations, then you can get similar services in college as well. So, or if you're somebody, again, who has a physical condition, who's seeing a doctor, or a condition that is considered psychological, such as depression or anxiety, then you can get those additional services from the counseling. So I think it's important for you guys to know that a lot of times students don't know. I see somebody says that they have epilepsy, and which is their a health condition, and absolutely you can see you can obtain additional support, which is classroom accommodations for your classes from ADA counselors. I see a question if they can, counselors can diagnose. We do not diagnose. So even though we are clinician, we do not diagnose. So if you or a student who thinks that they may have a disability, let's say they may have ADHD, and you can see a counselor to get some referrals in terms of where to go to get tested. You can talk to your physician, or we can share some information about resources in the community where you can go and get tested. So we don't test the students, we don't diagnose the students. The students come to us with their documentation showing that they have this condition. So for instance, for the student who says, I have epilepsy, you can meet with a counselor, present your documentation that you have this condition, and then talk to a counselor, and we will discuss, hey, what additional support you need. Like, because of your diagnosis, you may need more time to take your exams. So that's considered a classroom accommodation that we provide for you. Or if you suspect that you may have ADHD, if you bring us your documentation that you have ADHD, then we'll be able to accommodate you. Again, for instance, an example of accommodation could be, because you may get distracted while you're taking your test, then we'll give you more time to take your test. You may need to sit somewhere that is quiet to take your test. So these types of accommodation we can provide based on your condition. So, and I'm so glad that we are having this conversation, so you can ask questions and I can provide that information to you. I also want to encourage you guys to look at your syllabus. Let me ask you this. When you take a class and you get a syllabus the first day of a class, or even before that, the syllabus is posted online. Do you guys look at your syllabus? Do you read it to see what information is there? And please be honest. We don't, want you to be honest. If you do, please say yes, or put in the chat box. And if you don't, just let us know, that you don't. But it's just interesting for me to know. Okay, Thank you. I see some of you say yes. I know some are typing. Let us know. But basically, it's important for you guys to read the syllabus because the syllabus has a lot of information. It actually has a lot of information about the counseling services as well. So before we take a look at the page to see what you can find on the counseling page, I just want to give you a little more information about what we can do. So, for instance, if you're a student who is pregnant or just had a baby, and it doesn't matter if you identify yourself as a woman or man, we can provide, there's something called Title IX, which is a federal regulation that is anti-discrimination regulation that safeguards the students who are, for instance, pregnant or just have a baby to make sure that that they're not discriminated in college. So if you find yourself, if you are pregnant, I would say definitely meet with a counselor and will be able to provide supportive measures to you. And some of these supportive measures can be in terms of classroom accommodation. So, for instance, we know that if a person is pregnant, they may need to be absent sometimes to go, to their doctor's visits, or they may have a complications and the doctor says, oh, you need to be on bed rest. So things of that nature, we are definitely able to support you. So I want to make sure that you know about pregnancy or if you just had a baby, these are the services that we provide. Anybody has any questions so far? Anybody has any questions or concerns about that piece when I talked about personal counseling? Because our mental health really matters, and we want to make sure that our students' well-being really matters. And there's a lot of stressors out there. We know that you guys as a student, so many of you may also have a job, you may be taking care of, family members, you may be parent, you could be potentially taking care of an elderly, family member or parent, or just, juggling all of this together can be stressful. And, sometimes it helps to meet with a counselor to talk about things and sort of sort out your feelings and think about what are some of the, healthy ways of coping. I also want to make sure that sometimes people may think, well, I don't want to go see a counselor because they may be, worried about different things. Can you think of one reason why somebody may be hesitant to go and seek support? And just put that in the chat box. I really enjoy reading I see Emily is typing. Like one thing that you think may keep people from seeking support, or, if you're in college and you say, oh, I don't want to go see a counselor. Because it may change their lives. One, it can hopefully it changes somebody, it kind of brings some healthy habits into somebody's lives, or it kind of points out something. Sometimes if you're going through a hard time, we may think, oh, there are no options. And then when we talk to somebody and we sort out our feelings and we look at different things from different perspective, we may think of some other ways of dealing with things. Like if you're really stressed out and a person, because they're very stressed out and, in the classroom, then a person may think, well, the best way is for me just to avoid it and not go to the class. Well, that's not a good thing. But if you talk to a counselor, we may come up with different things. You may, discuss the ways of communicating with your faculty, reaching out for support, sort of coming up with some positive ways of dealing with stress. So I think it's important. And sometimes I see that somebody says, Sometimes people are scared of being judged, absolutely, or or it's too much for them to talk to of their issues, so they get scared to talk. Absolutely, or it can be embarrassing or feel guilty to ask for help. And you guys are very smart, brilliant students. You guys are absolutely right. A lot of times people think that I should be able to do this myself. If I ask for help, that means that I'm weak. And I just need to be able to pull myself by my bootstraps and do things on my own. Um, no, we are all human. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be able to, it's actually a sign of strength to say, hey, I'm trying and my goal is to do better. I think I just need to go talk to somebody to get some support. And you are still the person who will deal with the issue. You're the person, you're the expert in your own life. You're the person who figure out how to do things and how to improve. But the counselor can only assist to provide support. So a lot of times when we are in the middle of something, we may not see our options, but when we talk to a professional, we kind of again figure out, hey, maybe, I can do this or I can do that. And when you change your perspective, a lot of things may help, may change. So yes, I think a lot of times people feel like they're embarrassed, but again, it's a sign of strength to ask for help. Another thing is that confidentiality. Does it matter to you guys if you talk to somebody knowing that this person is not going to go announce your information to everyone? Would it be something that you think is maybe a barrier for some people to ask for help? And I'm interested in saying what you think um, and I see you guys are typing. It is very important. And one of the things that is important for me to share with you guys um, is confidentiality. Your information, counselors work under their ethical and legal guidelines and boundaries of their licensure. Yes, and I see one of you guys are saying, um, I think it's important to always speak with a friend at least so that you don't let your issues build up. Absolutely, sharing really helps. And I always say, if you have supportive people in your family, absolutely talk to them. People who keep things inside, they usually somehow find a way to, come up. And normally it's not, in a good way because you bottle things up. So absolutely, if you have family members, if you have friends, if you have people in your faith community, talk to somebody. It's okay, and we want people to be able to, reach out to their support network. It could be a family member, it could be again, if somebody in your faith community, it could be a teacher, it could be a faculty, it could be your advisor that you feel close to, it could be a friend. But it's really important to talk, and that talking talking usually, can even save life. It's really important. Or if you have a classmate or a friend that they're struggling with mental health issues, it's important to talk to them. It's important to let them know that you're there to support, but you're not an expert, you're not a mental health professional, but you know that you have to refer them to counseling, or, if somebody is really thinking about suicide, to be able to refer them or give them the information for the suicide hotline for them to be able to reach out. Or if they're really going through an immediate crisis, we have information on our website that I'll show you in terms of, a suicide hotline or 988 to call and ask for help. But if it's not a crisis and the person is just struggling with, some personal issues, be a friend and encourage people to seek help and for yourself to seek support. Counseling is confidential. So what you share with a counselor stays confidential. There are exceptions, and those exceptions I'm going to share with you. And then once you start seeing a counselor, for personal counseling, the counselor will share that with you as well. So when you go see a counselor, your information is confidential, unless there's some exceptions, and that is if you tell a counselor or the counselor asks you questions and see that you're thinking about killing yourself. So if a person is thinking about killing themselves, then that information is not confidential, and we have to, notify somebody to get you the support that you need. And that support can look different. If a person tells us that they're thinking about killing other people or harming other people, then their information is not confidential. And then if a person is, somebody that we think that they may abuse their child or an elderly, then that information we have to share. But other than that, your information is confidential. So even when I talked about ADA and disability, if you get accommodation for a disability, we put that accommodations and requests that we have from the faculty in a form that you give your faculty, but we cannot tell them, even if they ask, what the disability is. Let's say if a student has bipolar disorder or a heart condition or depression or diabetes, we cannot tell the faculty, or a learning disability, we're not going to share what the disability is. So that information is confidential as well. And I think that's important for you guys to know that. So that helps in terms of creating that ease for you guys, that your information is confidential with a counselor. Let me just share the counseling page. Let me see, I don't see a share button here. We are very proud of our counseling page. I know, and we have a lot of information on our counseling page because there is so much that we want to share with you. But I want to encourage you guys to check our counseling page and see everything that we have. So first of all, it talks about our mission, which again is to provide holistic services, to provide personal counseling, ADA, Title IX, as I've said, could be pregnancy or childbirth, or also if somebody is dealing with some kind of incident, considered Title IX, being the gender. Let's say if a student is victim of stalking or domestic violence or harassment or things of that nature, then they can reach out to counseling as well. Patrick is one of our great counselors. He has a video here. He talks about suicide prevention and other programs that we have. So this page, for instance, if you want to find a counselor on your campus, you will look at this, contact a counselor, and he has the names and the contact information for all of our counselors. He also has a little bio of the counselors, so you can read them. We encourage you, if you take a class in person, but to meet with somebody at your campus, because it's easier. You're already there, you're taking classes there. It will be easier to meet with somebody on your campus. There are also a lot of information here. So for instance, for mental health support, if you look at here, we have a whole lot of information for resources in the community. For instance, this is what I talked about crisis. If you or somebody you know is experiencing suicide, there is the phone number 988 or the national hotline, which is here. You can also text that number and you'll be able to talk to somebody 24 hours a day. 7 days a week. So this hotline and this information, everything we offer at HCC, like meeting with a counselor, is only for our students who are enrolled. But if you, a lot of these information, like resources that we have here, are resources that are open to all the community members. So for instance, if you have a friend who's not a HCC student or a family member or a neighbor who is in crisis, you can give them this information. Suicide hotline is for everyone, but everything we offer at HCC, like our counselors, you have to be an HCC student to see a counselor. We also have a lot of information here. For instance, JET Foundation, there is a lot of resources that they have. So you can also, you see, there is a lot of helpful resources for students. You can also take a lot of, there's some kind of assessment here, take a free mental health screener. And, there's short assessments to see if, for instance, you have depression or anxiety. So there is a lot of information here that you can access through our page. We have a lot of apps, free apps that you can use as a student. And these apps are basically designed to help with mental health. So I would say definitely visit our counseling page. One of the other things that, as you see, we have a whole lot of resources here. For instance, you may not have insurance and need services outside HCC. So these resources are there for you. You can contact them and reach out for support if you need something outside HCC. I also want to talk about one of the services that we provide is basic needs. And basic needs is what we talk about it is, a lot of our students may struggle to get food, or, you may be also struggling with having, enough food for your family members. So it's important to know that there's a lot of resources on HCC website that you can reach out to for support in terms of resources that helps for your basic needs. Again, food. I'm gonna get to that page, basic needs resources. So this is also a page that I want you, and there's a link to this page on your syllabus. So HCC Cares or Basic Need page is dedicated to giving you information on what we have inside HCC as well as outside HCC. Have anybody seen the markets, Eagle markets on your campuses? The information is here. We have a partnership with Houston Food Bank, which is called a food scholarship. So you can become a student who is part of that food scholarship, and every 2 weeks you can get 60 pounds of free food from the Eagle Market. So in the markets, we have fresh food, we have vegetables, produce, we have canned food, we have everything that you would normally go to a grocery store and you can get that for free and take home and cook it yourself, or, if you have somebody who cooks for you, you can do that. So the schedule is there. That's something. And they also have other basic needs items such as hygiene products and things of that nature. We also have this basic needs questionnaire here that I encourage you guys to complete it if you're somebody who may need some assistance in the area of basic needs. And at the end of the questionnaire, it asks you if you looked at everything that was in the website. Let's say, for instance, it asks you, are you currently experiencing a hardship? You would say yes or no. And it takes you to I'm just going to say yes. And it takes me to the next page. What sort of hardship? And you can choose, whatever it is, if it's, food, if it's housing, you can select that. And then it will give you the information that we have inside and outside HCC. And at the end, it will ask you if you still want to meet with a counselor. And if you do, a counselor can contact you and provide more information for you. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are familiar with that page. There's a lot of information on our counseling page. We also have our events posted on the counseling page. So we offer during the semester a lot of free workshops and sessions to our students. We normally have them, some of them are on campuses, so you can always check the counseling page and look at the counseling calendar to see if there is an event on your campus that you want to attend in person, or if you want to attend one of our virtual workshops. The virtual ones are normally around 12 o'clock. You just pop in, they're all free. You just walk in, pop in, and, listen to the presentation. On domestic violence, on human trafficking, on coping skills, time management, you name it, we offer a lot of sessions. Jana's group offer a lot of sessions too, and we offer them, we post them on the counseling page as well. So I would say make that a habit to visit the counseling page, see our events. For instance, we have a couple of events coming up in September and October. And thank you, Janet, Jana, for posting that. So it's really useful. We do offer these sessions because we know there are subjects that are important to you guys. And we would love to have you join our presentations. And sometimes faculty give you extra points as well for participating in some of those events. So I think this is what I wanted to share with you guys. I hope this was helpful. Has any questions in the chat box, or I don't know if Jana's okay with folks unmuting themselves and ask questions, but I would love to hear from you guys. And, I'm going to put my email address here as well. If you, have a questions, feel free to email me. If you want me to refer you to one of our counselors, please feel free to do so. Again, I appreciate this opportunity and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Kalani. Thank you once again, Dr. Kalani, for coming and talking to us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so very much. You guys have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, everybody. Hope to see you at our next event.